They built careers selling the American dream, perfect families, traditional values, wholesome images that filled theaters and living rooms. Then their children came out, and suddenly everything was at risk. Endorsement deals, fan loyalty, political alliances, conservative audiences who'd supported them for decades. These 10 stars faced an impossible choice: protect the brand or protect their child. Some hesitated, others didn't blink.
A few lost millions standing by their truth, but all of them learned that the hardest performance isn't on camera. It's the moment you have to choose between what the world wants you to be and who your child actually is. Subscribe to discover what it costs to love unconditionally when unconditional love threatens everything you've built.
Dwayne Wade is one of the greatest basketball players in NBA history. 3 championships, 13 All-Star appearances, a Hall of Fame career built on dominance and discipline.
But when his daughter Zaya came out as transgender at age 12 in 2020, Wade faced a test no championship prepared him for, choosing between basketball culture's rigid masculinity and his child's survival. Basketball doesn't just celebrate toughness, it demands it. Locker rooms police emotion, mock vulnerability, treat anything soft as weakness.
Into this world stepped Zaya Wade, assigned male at birth, telling her famous father the truth about who she really was. Wade didn't hesitate. He and his wife, Gabrielle Union, immediately affirmed Zaya's identity, used her correct pronouns, and became public advocates before most families even processed the news privately. The backlash was immediate and brutal. Conservative commentators accused him of confusing his child.
Former athletes questioned his parenting. Social media exploded with people who cheered his championships, now calling him every slur imaginable. Wade lost endorsement opportunities. Traditional sports media that had celebrated him for years suddenly treated his family as controversial. But Wade never wavered. In a 2020 interview, he said, "We don't focus on Zaya's gender or choice. We see her as our daughter and love her." He appeared on Ellen, posted support on Instagram, and told the world, "Thank you for giving us the opportunity to learn and grow. I will always support you in any circumstance." What makes Wade's story powerful isn't just acceptance, it's education. He didn't pretend to understand everything immediately. He admitted learning, growing, and making mistakes. He brought Zaya to Pride events, spoke at LGBTQ+ conferences, and partnered with organizations like the Trevor Project that prevent LGBTQ+ youth suicide. Zaya became a powerful voice herself, speaking about her journey and inspiring thousands of transgender youth who'd never seen someone like them celebrated by an athlete father. Wade proved that real strength isn't hiding who you are. It's protecting the people you love, even when the world tells you not to. The Lakers icon who had to learn to accept. Magic Johnson conquered basketball. 5 championships with the Lakers, 3 finals MVPs, a smile that defined an era of Showtime excellence. But when his son EJ came out as gay in 2013, Magic faced something harder than any opponent: his own discomfort with his son's sexuality and the journey from tolerance to genuine acceptance. EJ Johnson didn't come out quietly. He stepped into visibility with confidence, appearing publicly in ways that challenged traditional masculinity, wearing fashions that expressed his authentic self, living openly in a way that made some uncomfortable. For Magic, who'd built his career in hyper-masculine sports culture, this wasn't easy. In a 2016 interview with Nightline, Magic admitted the struggle. "When I realized that EJ was gay, I felt that I had to learn how to truly accept him. As a father, I understand that the most important thing is to love and protect him, not because of his sexuality, but because he is my son." That word, learn, is crucial. Magic didn't pretend instant comfort. He acknowledged that acceptance was work, a process, something he had to choose every day. His wife, Cookie, was instrumental, talking to EJ early, helping him feel comfortable, creating space for him to be himself. What's powerful about Magic's story is the honesty. He didn't present himself as the perfect woke dad who immediately understood everything. He said, "I struggled.
I had to grow. I had to put my son's well-being above my own comfort.
That honesty makes his advocacy more meaningful because it shows other parents that struggle doesn't mean failure. It means you're actually dealing with reality rather than performing acceptance. EJ went on to become a reality TV star on Rich Kids of Beverly Hills and later had his own show, EJ NYC. He became a fashion icon and LGBTQ+ advocate in his own right.
Magic supported him publicly, appearing at events, posting on social media, and using his massive platform to normalize same-sex love and gender nonconformity in sports culture. The Johnson family's journey proves that acceptance isn't always immediate or easy, but choosing to grow, to learn, to prioritize your child's happiness over your own discomfort is what makes someone a real parent.
The icon whose son became Chaz. Cher is a cultural institution, singer, actress, fashion icon, the woman who reinvented herself across 5 decades and made Believe an anthem for survival. But her most difficult transformation wasn't on stage. It was watching her daughter Chastity become her son Chaz and navigating her own confusion, grief, and ultimate acceptance of his transition. Chaz Bono was born in 1969 to Cher and Sonny Bono, growing up in the spotlight as the child of one of music's most famous couples. Assigned female at birth and named Chastity, Chaz struggled with gender identity for decades before publicly coming out as transgender in 2009 and completing his medical transition in 2010. Cher, despite being a gay icon and lifelong LGBTQ+ advocate, admitted she struggled when her child transitioned.
In a 2010 interview on The View, she said, "This is a huge journey. Not just for Chaz, but for me as well. But I love my son unconditionally, and that is the most important thing." That admission that she struggled is what makes Cher's story so important. She didn't pretend to understand immediately.
She talked about feeling bewildered, needing time to learn about the transition process, processing the loss of the daughter she'd known while welcoming the son who'd always existed underneath. But Cher did the work. She educated herself, asked questions, listened to Chaz's experiences, and ultimately stood beside him publicly. When Chaz appeared on Dancing with the Stars in 2011 as the first transgender contestant, Cher was in the audience cheering. When conservative media attacked him, Cher defended him fiercely. Chaz published a memoir, Transition, the story of how I became a man, detailing his journey and the challenges he faced. With Cher's support, he became one of the most visible transgender advocates in entertainment, proving that living authentically was possible, even for children of the famous. Cher's journey shows that being a longtime LGBTQ+ ally doesn't automatically make your child's coming out easy. Even icons have to grow, learn, and sometimes grieve the version of their child they thought they knew, while embracing the truth of who their child actually is.
Warren Beatty and Annette Bening, Hollywood royalty's transgender son. Warren Beatty and Annette Bening represent old Hollywood royalty, iconic careers, legendary performances, the kind of couple that defined elegance and talent. When their child, Stephen Ira, came out as transgender at 14 in 2006, they faced a test of whether their progressive values extended to their own family. They passed without hesitation.
Stephen Ira Beatty was born in 1992 as Kathleen Elizabeth Beatty. At 14, Stephen told his parents he was transgender and male. In an era when transgender children received far less media attention and support than today, Beatty and Bening immediately affirmed Stephen's identity, used his correct name and pronouns, and supported his transition. Warren Beatty, in an interview with The New Yorker, said, "Stephen is my son, and I have always loved him unconditionally. His transition is just a part of his life's journey. What matters is that he is happy and living authentically." Those words sound simple, but represent a radical choice in 2006. Transgender youth were barely discussed in mainstream media. Resources for parents were limited. Many families struggled for years with denial, conversion therapy attempts, or outright rejection. Beatty and Bening chose immediate affirmation. Annette Bening added, "Our children, no matter who they are or what they do, are our children. We love them in the way they need. That phrase, love them in the way they need, captures the essence of supportive parenting. Not loving them in the way that's comfortable for parents, but in the way that affirms their actual identity. Stephen went on to become a writer and activist, co-founding Vetch, a magazine of trans poetry and poetics that provides a platform for transgender artists and writers. He speaks publicly about his transition, his supportive parents, and the importance of family acceptance. Beatty and Vining's quiet, consistent support shows that sometimes the most powerful advocacy isn't loud speeches, but simply treating your transgender child with the same love, respect, and support you'd give any child, letting them know their identity is valid and their family will always be home. Sybil Shepherd, the mother of 2 LGBTQ+ children. Sybil Shepherd is famous for Moonlighting, Taxi Driver, and The Lost Picture Show, a career built on beauty, talent, and sharp wit. But her most important roles have been as mother to Clementine Ford and Ariel Shepard Oppenheim, 2 LGBTQ+ children she supported unconditionally and publicly throughout their lives. Clementine Ford, born in 1979, came out as bisexual and became an actress and prominent LGBTQ+ activist. She starred in The L Word from 2004 to 2009, playing a character from the LGBT+ community and using her platform to advocate for queer rights. Clementine has spoken about how her mother, Sybil, was always her motivator and unwavering supporter, helping her feel confident living authentically. Ariel Shepard Oppenheim, Sybil's younger daughter, is a screenwriter and director who publicly came out as lesbian. She's directed short films, including work that tells stories of lesbian women in modern society, using her art to create representation that she didn't always see growing up. Sybil has shown strong support from the moment her daughters decided to publicly express their identities. In an interview with The Advocate, she said, "My love for my children never changes. My children, no matter who they are, I love and accept them." What makes Sybil's story unique is that she's been a public supporter of LGBTQ+ rights for decades, participating in campaigns and charity organizations fighting for equality long before her children came out. She didn't just become an ally when it became personal. She was already there, creating a home where her children knew they'd be accepted before they even had to ask. She's participated in pride events, spoken at LGBTQ+ conferences, and used her platform to normalize diverse families. Her daughters have both credited her with giving them the confidence to live openly and use their own platforms for advocacy. Sybil's story proves that creating an environment of acceptance before your children even come out is the most powerful form of support, letting them know from their earliest memories that whoever they are will be celebrated, not just tolerated. Sally Field, Forrest Gump's mom and her gay son. Forrest Field won 2 Oscars playing mothers in Norma Rae and Places in the Heart, but her most important maternal role has been supporting her son Sam Griezmann, who came out as gay and found unwavering acceptance from a mother who'd already proven she was a fighter both on screen and in real life. Sam Griezmann was born in 1987 to Sally Field and her first husband, Stephen Griezmann. When Sam came out, Sally's response reflected years of progressive values. When Sam shared his sexuality with me, I wasn't surprised, just proud that he was living authentically. My love for him hasn't changed. He's my son, and I love him for who he is. But Sally didn't stop at private acceptance. She became a public advocate, speaking about Sam's coming out experience in interviews, appearing at LGBTQ+ events, and using her platform to normalize same-sex relationships. In 2012, she received the Ally for Equality Award from the Human Rights Campaign, a major organization dedicated to LGBTQ+ rights. What made the moment even more powerful was that Sam presented her with the award. In her acceptance speech, Sally said, "I have learned so much from my son about love and acceptance. There's nothing more important than supporting your children in what they choose and who they become." Sally has spoken about how Sam's coming out educated her, expanded her understanding, and made her a better advocate. She didn't claim to know everything. She emphasized learning from her son's experiences and using her privilege as a famous straight woman to amplify LGBTQ+ voices. Sam has worked as a producer and writer in Hollywood, and Sally has supported his career while also being vocal about the challenges LGBTQ+ people still face in the entertainment industry. She's pushed for more inclusive hiring, better representation, and protections for LGBTQ+ workers. Sally Field's advocacy shows how powerful it is when famous parents don't just accept their LGBTQ+ children privately, but use their platforms to fight for equality publicly, turning personal acceptance into political action that benefits the entire community.
Isaiah Thomas was one of the toughest players in NBA history, the leader of the Bad Boys Detroit Pistons, who won back-to-back championships in 1989 and 1990 through physical, punishing basketball. When his son Zeke Thomas came out as gay in 2008, Isaiah showed that real toughness means loving your child unconditionally, even when it challenges everything your sport taught you about masculinity.
Zeke Thomas, born in 1989, came out at 19, a decision that wasn't easy as the son of a sports legend. But Zeke received unconditional support from his father, who proved that the same intensity he brought to basketball could be channeled into protecting his son. In an interview with the Huffington Post, Zeke shared, "Since I was young, I knew that my parents would always love me no matter who I am or what I do.
My mom and dad always said they loved me unconditionally, and they would always have my back, no matter what life brings." Isaiah Thomas, in a 2012 interview, said, "The love I have for Zeke is unconditional. It doesn't depend on his gender or his choices. I've always been the father who stands by him, supporting and protecting him at all times." But Isaiah didn't stop at words.
He and Zeke worked together on LGBTQ+ advocacy campaigns, including the No 8 campaign fighting against stigma and discrimination. They appeared at pride parades and events together, with Isaiah using his sports legend status to reach audiences who might not otherwise hear LGBTQ+ perspectives. Zeke became a DJ, creator, and active LGBTQ+ community member. With his father's support, he's spoken publicly about his experiences, created art that reflects queer identity, and served as a role model for young LGBTQ+ people whose parents come from traditionally conservative spaces like professional sports. Isaiah Thomas's transformation from bad boy champion to vocal LGBTQ+ ally shows that masculinity doesn't have to be fragile or threatened by difference. Real strength means protecting the people you love, even when it challenges your community's expectations. The Breakfast Club star's lesbian daughter. Ali Sheedy became an icon playing the misfit in The Breakfast Club, but her daughter Rebecca proved that the most authentic rebellion isn't performed on screen. It's living your truth, regardless of what society expects, with a mother who never questioned that truth for a second. Ali Sheedy didn't experience a dramatic coming-out moment with her daughter Rebecca.
In fact, Ali shared with Windy City Times that Rebecca openly expressed her gender identity from a young age, without any concealment. For both mother and daughter, being lesbian wasn't a revelation. It was just who Rebecca was, accepted and celebrated from the beginning. Rebecca Sheedy works as a screenwriter and artist in Chicago, creating work that addresses gender issues and love. She's been involved in several artistic projects and participated in LGBTQ+ rights activism, using her creativity to tell stories that matter to the queer community. Ali has said supporting her daughter was never complicated. The only question I always ask myself is, do you love your child? That's it. This reflects the easygoing attitude within the Sheedy family, where love has always been the most important factor, and discrimination based on sexual orientation was never an option. Ali actively advocates for LGBTQ+ rights beyond supporting her daughter. In 2012, she received the Ally for Equality Award from the Human Rights Campaign, presented by Rebecca herself. The image of a daughter presenting mother with an award for being an ally perfectly captures their relationship. Mutual support, public solidarity, and a family that doesn't just tolerate difference but celebrates it. What makes Ali's story particularly powerful is its simplicity.
No dramatic struggle, no painful learning curve, no moment of crisis. Just a mother who always let her daughter know she was loved exactly as she was, creating a home where coming out wasn't necessary because being in was never required. The Go-Go Singer and Her Gay Son. Belinda Carlisle defined 80s pop as lead singer of the Go-Go's, and with solo hits like Heaven is a Place on Earth. When her son, James Duke Mason, came out as gay at 14 in 2004, Belinda faced a test of whether her progressive California values extended to protecting her child from a world that could be cruel to young gay kids. James Duke Mason was born in 1990 to Belinda and her husband Morgan Mason, a film producer and son of former Secretary James Mason. At just 14, James decided to publicly come out as gay, a major turning point not just in his life but for his family navigating how to support him. In an interview with Metro, Belinda shared, "When James decided to share with me that he was gay, I was worried about how Morgan would react. But after everything was resolved, I realized there was nothing to fear. The most important thing was that I needed to stand by my son and help him feel comfortable with who he is." Belinda emphasized that her support went beyond mere acceptance. It was about being there throughout the process, protecting him from stigma and societal pressures. "We talked about it a lot, and I always tried to make James feel loved and accepted," she said. James has spoken about how his mother's support gave him confidence to live openly and authentically from a young age. Coming out at 14, especially in 2004 when LGBTQ+ acceptance was far less widespread than today, required courage that Belinda helped him find. Belinda has continued advocating for LGBTQ+ youth, speaking about the importance of family acceptance and the devastating consequences when young people don't receive support. She's participated in campaigns highlighting how parental acceptance dramatically reduces suicide risk among LGBTQ+ youth. Belinda Carlisle's story shows that sometimes the most important thing a parent can do is simply say, "I'm worried for you because the world can be cruel, but I'm standing beside you no matter what," giving their child the foundation to face that world with confidence. Magic Johnson revisited, Cookie's crucial role. While Magic Johnson's journey accepting his son EJ is important, Cookie Johnson's role deserves deeper examination. She was the one who initiated conversations with EJ during his teenage years, creating safe space for him to explore his identity before the world was watching.
Cookie has spoken about how when EJ entered his teenage years, she saw him struggling with changes and took the initiative to talk directly to him. She wanted to help him feel comfortable with who he was becoming, understanding that those conversations needed to happen at home, privately, before any public declarations. When EJ started his teenage years, I knew he was going through a lot of changes.
"So I talked to him directly to help him feel comfortable with who he is," Cookie shared in interviews. That proactive parenting, not waiting for a crisis but creating ongoing dialogue, made all the difference. Cookie became EJ's primary support system as he came out, helping him navigate the complex intersection of being young, gay, and the son of a sports legend.
She attended events with him, appeared in his reality shows, and publicly defended him when critics attacked. While Magic had to learn acceptance, Cookie seemed to arrive there naturally, demonstrating that sometimes mothers, perhaps because they're often primary caregivers, develop deeper emotional attunement to their children's struggles.
She didn't need to overcome sports culture's rigid masculinity the way Magic did. She simply loved her son and wanted him happy. Together, Magic and Cookie created a united front that told EJ, "Your parents are both here for you, learning together, growing together, committed to your happiness above all else." That united parental support is one of the strongest predictors of positive outcomes for LGBTQ+ youth. Cookie's story reminds us that acceptance isn't always a dramatic transformation. Sometimes it's the quiet, consistent work of creating safety at home, having difficult conversations, and showing up every single day to remind your child they're loved exactly as they are. 10 celebrities, 10 LGBTQ+ children, 10 different journeys that all arrived at the same destination, unconditional love. Some parents struggled, Others accepted immediately. A few had to learn, grow, and overcome their own discomfort, but all of them ultimately chose their children over public opinion, career consequences, or personal confusion. These stories matter because visibility saves lives.
When a famous athlete supports his transgender daughter, it tells thousands of other parents they can too. When an actress receives an award from her lesbian daughter, it normalizes queer families. When a basketball legend admits he had to learn to accept his gay son, it gives other struggling parents permission to be imperfect while still choosing love.
Research consistently shows that family acceptance is the single strongest predictor of positive outcomes for LGBTQ+ youth. Accepted kids have dramatically lower rates of depression, suicide attempts, and substance abuse. They're more likely to finish school, build healthy relationships, and thrive as adults. Parental support literally saves lives. But acceptance isn't always instant or easy. Some of these parents admitted confusion, fear, or needing time to adjust. What made them heroes wasn't never struggling. It was choosing to grow through the struggle rather than forcing their children to hide. They prioritized their children's well-being over their own comfort, their children's truth over public image. These 10 stories prove that love isn't complicated.
Supporting your LGBTQ+ child means listening, learning, using correct names and pronouns, standing up to bigots, and showing up consistently. It means education, advocacy, and being willing to lose people who can't accept your family.
Subscribe to continue exploring how families navigate difference and to ensure these stories reach parents who need to hear that choosing their child is always the right choice, even when it costs everything else.